it almost gets back to our conversation about copy work or how you present music, because I feel like groove, like when you talk about music that's like funky or groovy, and you're talking about these more, kind of, for lack of a better word, like pop artists, or people who work in more popular styles of music, a lot of that stuff's maybe not written down. They're going off of like how they feel, and so much of like groove and funk, and I mean, you could insert really any adjective, is about like a feeling that you might have. I mean, do you feel like the notes on the page themselves are enough to convey this idea of groove, or do you put other information, or do you have to like rely on someone just knowing what to do?
I've been stuck in this hole. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's hard. It's really hard. What I can tell you is classical musicians can groove. They just don't know it.
Yeah.
It's not something they learned how to do. It is something that's not written. And if you have to describe it, how to do it, it's this lengthy. And I've done it. I've tried that route of hyper. My fourth string quartet, the last movement. The first time I heard it, it wasn't grooving there. It's all 16. It's super groovy, and they're like the two violins are going away, and then the straight 16s and canon and viola and cello are doing this like totally funky moving chord thing. And they were playing it beautifully, but super elegant, and it just didn't work. So we had to break it down. And I'm like, well, you have to think about like this accent on beats 2 and 4. Like, but you don't have beats 2 and 4, chaka chaka, like that type of thing, right? And playing square in the middle of the beat. Classical musicians, we nuance beats, especially chamber music. A really good quartet can collectively move the beat from the center of the beat to the top of the beat to the back of the beat, and
Yeah.
and it's amazing how they do that. You get it's still in time, but where you place that beat is a microsecond, and they do it together. Classical musicians are always doing that together, right? I'm like, no, in the freaking middle of the beat. You just hold it there, and it will give you this pull. Instead of pushing it forward, you're just going to like be there in the middle of the beat. And when it's in the middle of the beat, pull it a little bit to the back, and it has this sort of like other feeling. So we talked about that a lot, invisible accents, and then they played it, and it was totally there. It was absolutely 100% there, but it took a whole conversation. Classical musicians can do it. They just don't know they can do it. It's something they don't really. There's no repertoire for them where they have to do it. That they grew up playing in conservatories. I try different things just to follow it up. So it's just like legato. Like I write the word. I say smooth, funky legato. I use that all the time.
Mm.
And they're like, what does that mean? and then I write. It's like you're playing legato, but there's a small break between every note. And they're like, well, that's not legato. I'm like, right, but you're playing legato, but you're not playing legato. That is funk. That is like an accented way of playing a melodic line where you're connecting things, but you're just releasing it before you get to the next note. That's the best way to tell a classical musicians how to play funky. Like that they get. Like, oh, I can do that. And it works.
Yeah, that's funny. Sometimes get myself in trouble talking about what I'm about to bring up, so I'll tread carefully, but I have pretty strong feelings about like when I hear an orchestra piece with drum set in it, because I feel like, you know, no offense to all the wonderful orchestral percussionists that I know, but when you put like a written out drum set part in front of them and they're playing with an orchestra, just something about it ruins the whole thing for me. And I've heard like really wonderful pieces, and I can't figure out if it's like a composer issue or a percussionist issue, but that's like the one thing that I'm like, oh, I wish there was like a clear way to make this work, because I think it's so dependent on the player. And sometimes when we're talking about drum set too, it's dependent on like the way they set up the drums.
It is. It
Like
is. Yeah.
like when you talk to an actual drum set player, one of my best friends is a drum set player, Sean Hamilton. I'll give him a shout out. He's been on the podcast, and he thinks so deliberately about like, what kind of kick drum am I going to have? What kind of toms will I have? Like, oh, I don't like the way the cymbal sounds. Let me try a different cymbal, as opposed to just like, okay, let's throw a drum set together and play this,
Yeah, well,
with
cymbals
the,
are incredibly. I mean, everything you just said with cymbals are where they really get their sound. It's like when you
yeah,
see a drummer come to play a gig, they come with their own cymbals.
right.
They'll use the drum set there, but like I got my cymbals, so that's my sound. Right? But I think drum set, it's the one instrument that there's an improvisatory element. Like it's an improv instrument and writing out something for an instrument that is largely improvised. I learned that the hard way. So when I do use drum set and pieces now, I let them improvise and I give them just slashes and give them a couple words of what I want. But if you try to write it out, it's going to end up half the time, at least for my music, exactly like you just said, and it's going to work against you. This is an instrument that is improvised. Like
Yeah,
if you write it out, they can do it. But if you tell them, oh, I kind of want this, then they have their way of doing what you want, but it's probably going to be better because it is an improvised type of instrument. Like that is the way the instrument works. It's not a cello, it's not a violin, it's not a piano even. It's a drum set is largely improvised, and I think composers we should accept that and embrace it, and let drummers do what they do. In an orchestral setting, then you have a problem 'cause not every percussionist back there. There are a lot of percussionists that didn't grow up playing drums, as we all think. They actually grew up playing classical percussion and might not feel so comfortable. So you need to get someone back there who knows how to do that.
for sure.
Like an Ian Ding, like I remember Ian Ding. It's this great classical, percussionist, and he could totally rock on a drum set. He's the one playing on my album Smoke, all that drum set stuff. I just let him rip and like just do you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Micromaker by Loose Leaf Transmissions. We hope you enjoyed this brief glimpse into the inner workings of the creative life. If this resonated with you, be sure to check out the full conversation on Music Maker with Tyler Kline, a podcast exploring craft and process, philosophy and inspiration, and the honest, often messy parts of being an artist, creative uncertainty, purpose and identity, and resilience. You can find Music Maker wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting musicmakerpodcast.com.